So my name is Chandru Shankar. I lead EMEA for manufacturing distribution. We have a really, I'm really excited to present to you some great speakers. We got Colin Masson, who's our global marketing director for manufacturing distribution. He's going to come on first and talk a little bit about trends. We got a fantastic customer here. Going to talk about a brilliant customer story for using AX, CRM, and Field One all together in his business Safety Clean, Dave Exall. And then we've got our great R&D lady, Mybrit, who's actually going to show you what we're doing in the IoT space with AX. So I think we've got a pretty exciting agenda. So looking forward to this session myself. And like I said, that's why we saved it for the last. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Colin Masson. Colin?
Okay. Can you hear me okay in the back there? Nodding heads? Okay, great. So just to kick off, let's jump straight in. See what we've got here. So we've been talking for the last couple of years about manufacturing being sexy again, right? That everyone's reimagining manufacturing, starting to think about smart products and changing the customer experience. And a lot of that is really, we've given it a new name. It isn't necessarily new to manufacturing. I see plenty of older people in the room who kind of been around in manufacturing for a while, and you know that we've had smart sensors on the shop floor for a long time. But what we're really starting to see is that instead of thinking about the customer, I wouldn't say as the last thought, but starting to put the customer at the center of the experience has now become much cheaper, much easier to do with this thing that we're calling the Internet of Things, or Industry 4.0 in Germany, or in the States we'll talk about smart manufacturing. But the one thing that's different, I think, is that most manufacturers are now starting to think about leveraging those sensors that may already be in their products, or adding sensors to their products, so that they can really reshape the customer experience as they move forward. And if you think this is all hype, no, it's giving, oh, there we go. If you think it's all hype, we've put in just a little bit of backup data to kind of show you. Maybe I'm too far away from this thing. You want to move it? Okay. So if you look at the bottom curve, that's kind of classic what we've done in manufacturing before. We've used smart sensors to kind of improve operations, so manufacturing and supply chain, make it smarter, make it more agile. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. In fact, you've got to continue to do that as we get more complex product configurations, shorter product life cycles. The pressure for manufacturing just to be able to respond quickly isn't diminishing, it's increasing. But the real opportunity is to now change the customer experience, start to sell not just a well-engineered product, but sell the whole experience. And one of the first areas we're seeing that in is kind of service, right? So making the transition from being a product company to selling the complete end-to-end service. And in manufacturing, in particular, that is pretty well received because we have and I know it's not unique to the States, it's globally, we have a skills gap in manufacturing. So if you can now wrap up not just your product, if you're an industrial equipment manufacturer, for example, but you can actually offer to maintain that, remotely monitor it, do predictive maintenance on it, then you've got a huge upside potential in terms of your margin. And that's kind of what we're seeing, whether it's, frankly, whether it's consumer goods with a smart coffee machine, or an industrial equipment manufacturer that's going to remotely monitor their equipment on your behalf, or it's an automotive manufacturer or a cleaning chemicals company that becomes a cleaning services company. I mean, we're seeing it almost across the board in every manufacturing vertical. And there's already plenty of data out there saying that this stuff is real. In 2014, companies that had IoT initiatives increased their, I think they've got revenue there, 16%, almost 80%, whether it was called IoT or not, right? It might have been an RFID project in supply chain. It may have been called something else, but if you lump all of those and call them IoT technologies, then 80% of manufacturers are tracking customers, the products, the premises, either from a security or a loss prevention point of view, for example, or the movement of their goods through the supply chain in some shape or form. And a lot of this is driven around changing that customer experience. So roughly 90% of executives believe that the customer experience is going to be what differentiates you moving forward. It isn't just the product. It's going to be how they experience that product, how you service it, maintain it, and how they engage with your marketing, sales, service, as well as your engineering and operations teams. So with that...
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Colin. So, you know, we actually do, as Colin, as we mentioned earlier, we do have a customer, and we're going to talk about some of the customers. Before we bring Dave up here, and he's going to tell you how some of this is manifested in his organization, we also wanted to talk about a few customers that are not necessarily in this room, but are already using our technology. Let's start with Lotus Formula One. I know there are plenty of Formula One fans out here, and many of you already know, you've seen this video, you've heard this customer possibly a few times before, but the story just keeps getting better. So when we talk to Thomas Meyer, who's the CEO of Lotus, it's amazing to see how they are using our technology and how the technology is helping them evolve their business. So the latest, they're actually one of our AX TAP partners. So the new AX that you've been hearing about, they're already on it. They're already working on it, and they're close to going live on it. And they're using Azure in every way possible. So, you know, one of the, so I actually live here in Barcelona, and the best thing about that is I actually get to go to the racetrack here in Catalonia. Yeah. So, and they have these things called test days, and you just see just the experience around that. These cars come in to the dock, and you know, boom, boom, they're taking the tires out and doing all the stuff. But it's amazing. They actually have like a whole set of engineers and data analysts sitting up there. There's a whole army of people. There's 10, 15 people from Pirelli analyzing the tire data. There's the oil people checking the oil viscosity and things like that. There's the engine team. But what they're trying to do is kind of get a 0.1 second differential for the next race, right? It's amazing. They just want that little differential. And by the end of the season, if they get to 2-second differential, that's huge. Do you know how many cars Lotus makes? 3. They make 3 cars a year. That's it. They make tens of thousands of changes to the cars during the space of the year. So they talk about how, they've got to, whatever the data they get, they got to transfer it back to their engineering teams. They do the analysis. They say, okay, if we make this little slight change here, we can, get some improvement in this performance of this engine, and that needs to be remanufactured. They might already be on version 3.8. They got to stop that and make sure that they get to version 4 or whatever it is, and then they are to test it. That supply chain, once they're tested, then it's shipped to the next race in Singapore or wherever it is, retrofitted into the car, retest it, and boom, it's ready. So they can't afford any delays, and that's where our technologies are helping them. AX, Azure, Office 365, CRM, they're using it all. Yes, please do.
So they're an extreme example. Think about them. I don't think Thomas would like me referring to his cars as like industrial equipment, but they're remotely monitoring that car as it goes around the track, collecting terabytes of data. That's going into engineering and driving the re-engineering of parts. And to your point, sometimes there's a week or 2 weeks between races. 3D printing metal parts to put into the car. So, they're kind of an extreme form of what we're seeing as kind of on the leading edge in many manufacturers, and they're using it from our IoT suite to collect the data from the car to using our machine learning to actually look for those patterns in the data that may not be intuitive, as well as, of course, using AX and CRM.
And that's a really interesting point, because the funny thing is they were telling us how they get about 20, in the previous years they used to get about 20 meg of data after a race. Now they get 20 gig after every lap. So you can think of the amount of data they have to analyze. And you really need some good solutions to look at that, and you need cloud technologies. Another great company is Dell. So you hear about, I think during today's sessions, previous sessions, you heard some of our speakers talk about the systems, the Gartner's, how they talk about systems, right? So you have systems of record, systems of differentiation, and systems of innovation, or I think they call it engagement, or whatever it is. But the idea is, Dell is one of those where they said, okay, I've got my systems of record fine, it's handling my financials, it's handling my HR. Where I really need the bang for the buck is in my supply chain, in my manufacturing, and I need that optimized, I need more agility. So previously, they used to have, their whole solutions were, you can design pretty much the PC you want, and you're going to get it exactly the same. This color, this amount of RAM, this graphics card, etc. And you go configure it, and they'll give you exactly the date that it's going to ship and be at your in your house. What they've seen is how far the model has shifted, because you and I could go to a local PC store, to a PC electronics giant now, and about 90% of my needs are met. And I'm really not interested in paying another 500 or 1,000 euros for that little 10%. Maybe a few people are, but not for the masses, right? So their now whole design, whole manufacturing supply chain has shifted. And so they've gone to more of a make-to-manufacture mode, and that's where they got to looking at their multiple systems. They have so many systems in the supply chain, and they've narrowed it down to just using AX for all the manufacturing plants around the world, tying back to the systems of record that we have. So another great customer that we have in this space. The other ones, so KUKA. KUKA is a great story. So when you think of KUKA robots, what KUKA has done is they have contracts with multiple automotive companies. One of them is Jeep Wrangler, for example, with Chrysler. So they make the bodies for Jeep Wrangler. So what they did was they retrofitted the assembly line with about 259 robots, right? And they've got these, to Colin's point, they got IoT sensors along the whole assembly line. And they're churning out these bodies, I think at the rate of 1 every 7 seconds, something like that. But they also have a machine uptime that can last up to 6 years without downtime because of the machine predictability. And we're not just talking uptime, because what they're able to do is the changeover. They're able to make sure that they can change over. Today they have the Jeep Wrangler contract going for X number of months, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. They can change over to a whole nother body in matter of hours and create and set it up for the next car company, whatever it is they build. And that flexibility, again, they need solutions like they're on Dynamics AX connected to Azure and the cloud to get the data and make sure that they're using.
And they're running Windows embedded in the robots themselves. They're apart from running AX to run their business, they also remotely monitor now those robots, and they can actually connect with the machine operator on the other end and actually guide them through reconfiguring the robot. So as these engineering changes come through to manufacturing, again, we're running into that skills gap in manufacturing. So they now offer the service to their customers where they can remotely monitor, suggest changes, or work with a less skilled worker and get that change made as they're introducing a new product change into manufacturing. So
that's great. I don't know how many of you were in Shree's session earlier this morning. He talked about Cortana analytics. I mean, this is another wonderful piece of technology that's starting to get embedded into our solution. So that's the greater effect of Microsoft that we take advantage of, right? We're lucky to be in a company where we're building CRM solutions, we're building ERP solutions, but we got this, this greater gamut of solutions that we can pull into our basket, if you will. And what can help with the Cortana? People are already thinking about shop floor apps where you go into a meat processing company or you go into a metals company, and the operators are out there, working the machines and working with gloves and with blood on their hands and stuff, and they don't have time to go punch the output and say, I've finished 10 of these or 50 kilos of these, whatever. They've got to be able to they can actually speak to the machine and say, my catch weight for this operation was XYZ. And that's the kind of power that we can bring to bear as we build out our technologies. And then the last one that I want to talk about, I think a lot of you have again heard of this very innovative company, JJ Food Service, one of our leading food service distributors in the UK. JJ Food has actually been a long-time user of AX. They've been running AX for a while. By the way, their business, it's quite a disparate product line. So they can sell really fresh food items, like salads, greens, vegetables, meat, but they can also distribute to companies or to restaurants things like napkins, things like coffee filters, things like. So it's like, there's some products that are time sensitive. Has to be, if they say it's going to be on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m., it has to be there Tuesday at 11:30, give or take a few minutes. Whereas the coffee, paper, it's got a shelf life. That's nothing going to happen to that, right? So besides using the tracking, using our distribution functionality, where they can actually know, they have visibility to when the driver gets there and actually drops off the product, they're now expanding the usage, and they use Azure machine learning. So what are they using that for? Of course, they have the historical sales background of what they've sold to customer ABC, but they also use machine learning, do predictive analysis, and say, if I'm the buyer for this company that uses JJ Food as my distributor, when I come in on Monday morning, they already have my shopping cart populated. They say, you're going to need these coffee filters for your restaurant here. You're going to need meat to be sent to this company there. It's brilliant. So they've done half my job already, or maybe all of it, and then I just need to validate, this looks good, I'm going to increase this or reduce this, whatever. And it's brilliant. So what they're doing is they're making my life easier, but they might also be upselling things. So if I don't pay attention, maybe they stick something else in this. So just saying. So it's just brilliant to see some of these companies, how their usage patterns. But we saved, again, the best for the last, because we've got the Visionary Award winner next. I'm very happy to introduce you to, if I can actually forward the slide, to Dave Exall, who's the CIO of Safety Clean. This is we really so Dave and Safety Clean won the Visionary Award this year for the solution, and you're going to hear why. I mean, you're going to see why it is that they deservedly won this award. Dave, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As Chandru said, I'm from a company called Safety Clean. I'm the CIO, Dave Exall. We're on a transformation, and unlike many of the other companies there that have maybe been doing their transformation, their systems for years, we're frankly right in the middle of it right now, and we're doing a very dramatic transformation in our organization. And I'll try to just take you through that briefly and show you how we're trying to jump almost 20 years of non-technology investment to be right in the area of IoT and some of these other trends that we've been talking through. Just to introduce Safety Clean, we're a mid-sized company. Many people wouldn't have necessarily heard about who we are. We make something called an expert's parts washing machine. If you imagine your washing machine at home that cleans your clothes, we make equivalent machines that clean bits of equipment, bits of cars, of trains, of planes. So if you ever wondered, how do the Formula One guys keep all the bits on their cars really nice and clean? Many of them use a parts washer. How do they clean a toilet on an aeroplane when they take it off? They put it in a parts washer. And the bits on drills are also cleaned in a parts washer. Our business is primarily based in Europe. Mid-sized company, about 1,500 people, primarily based in Europe, but with some business in South America and in Russia. Our parts washers, are installed, over 100,000 of them. And our business model is actually to create those machines, create innovative parts washing machines to clean a whole sort of host of problems that industries face, and then to actually install those machines and successfully keep those machines running, service them, and take the waste away. And we conduct about 1 million services a year on those machines. And despite the fact that a parts washer may not sound the most exciting things, to many businesses it's quite key and critical that it runs and operates and helps them to clean the components that they're using, in their business. Just to give you some sense of the differences that live in the world of cleaning, the one on the left cleans with ultrasound. The one in the middle actually cleans the rollers that they use to actually paint ships. And the one on the right takes paint off metal and other pieces of equipment. There's a whole range of those types of machines.
Wonderful. So this is where I jump in. So, and I think you talked about the size of your machines. The machines are increasing.
Sure.
I think you mentioned some of those actually strip out cleaners, kerosene, blah, blah. So,
yeah, all sorts of things. They contain either they're aqueous based or kerosene or thinners. Some of them are fairly nasty products that you actually need to manage and dispose of safely.
Yeah, so some of you may well have their machines in your business, but you probably wouldn't know because they actually don't sell you the machine, they sell you a service. So tell us a little bit about what your current system topology is, and then what you're going to, with our solution.
Sure. So we've been a business that's been around 40 odd years, but I have to say we are a very old-fashioned business from a technology point of view. And actually, when I joined the company, we would often use this picture to describe our kind of systems. But I think one of the things when I walked into the business was, we had these old line printers everywhere, which if many of you are from manufacturing, maybe you've even still got some of these, but frankly, I hadn't seen a lot of these types of old line printers, in many years since my old IBM days.
Both were not Dynamics AX, by the way. It was Dynamics ASS maybe, but not AX.
And in fact, our systems that existed, we had no ERP, no CRM, no real sort of modern technology apart from a homegrown system that was written 20 years ago that churns off bits of paper to do our services, all of our manufacturing of our machines, all of our inventory, distribution, supply chain, all done frankly on Excel spreadsheets. And the key for us was to kind of, how do we transform that? And how do we do it quickly? And in fact, this, although it's not specifically a manufacturing element, this really explains just how basic a business model we are on a paper-based situation where for every service that we were doing, we'd print them out on one of those printers and we would send them actually manually through the post to our branches for our service reps to actually go out there and to conduct those services. And have lots of people keying in lots of documents through the organization. And there's actually, probably for every person that adds value directly in our business, we have 500 service reps. We have an equivalent of 500 admin and managers who kind of, help them do their job, and all sorts of variable, efficiencies across the company. Inventory, we've lots of it. Actually, we never run out of inventory because our whole practice is to make sure we've just got enough that we never run out of it because we don't have an inventory management system. The reality with that is where we should be turning our inventory maybe 16, 24 times a year, we turn it 3 times a year. All this said and done, by the way, we're a great business and actually a very healthy business. But the reality is with technology and with a little bit of vision about where we're going, and our vision started very much with field service, because our whole business is about creating great machines, putting them into customers and then ensuring that those machines work well, are serviced well. And so we built a vision that was very much around service, and it's very much around the Microsoft Field 1 technology. And then combined with that, we needed to frankly go right the way through the company and get it all working right to the very start of where we manufacture the machines and how we manage inventory. So the way in which we do contracts, all of our machines, you know, are either manufactured from new or a refurb. We refurbish our machines a lot because they're actually heavily used. It's a very dirty environment. You know, we needed financial systems that would tell us, you know, where we made money, on what machines and what customers. We know we've got a great business, but we can't quite tell you where we make the money and where we lose the money. And that's key to us. And you know, obviously the whole kind of inventory and the demand management and making sure that we've actually got robust systems combined with the whole kind of the Salesforce side. So the reality is that when you know, I looked at our business, we needed to do absolutely everything, which is a Microsoft dream, frankly. Because we've bought everything just about that Microsoft seems to sell in the dynamic space. We've got all of their CRM product that we're using because many of our service engineers are both sales and service. So, you know, they actually sell, they manage leads, they manage opportunities, and then they also go and conduct service and work with customers. So we're using the vast majority of CRM. We're using, you know, the Field 1 product. The ERP is very important for us to get our financials, our inventory, our manufacturing, our supply chain. And then obviously we've built all of this, you know, on top of, you know, the typical kind of SharePoint and on SQL. And then we're using BI for effectively all of our reporting. So we've got the lot, yeah. Chandru.
No, this is why we love you.
This clicker, you guys need a good clicker.
Yeah, no, don't worry about the clicker. Before we even get to this, there was one point I wanted to replay, which you said earlier. So you've got right now just 3x inventory turns, and you said your goal is 16x.
Yeah, 16, 18 is kind of what most people have told us we should be doing, in our view. You know, we're relatively new on AX in the UK, and even our first view of our inventory visibility as we start to look at it, it's remarkable. We have, you know, many years of certain products and all the things that, again, other companies have been through. We're trying to go through 20 years of IT implementation in frankly 2 years right now.
No, but I mean, when you think of a case study and when you think of effectiveness of a solution, 5 times the inventory turns is, I mean, I don't get to go to a whole lot of companies where if I see 1.5 times the turns, that itself is an incredible rate. 5 times is just brilliant. So we really applaud the initiative, and we're there with you the whole journey. So now tell us, I know here you have all these bunch of people saying, okay, I like your stack, this looks really nice. I'm sure Microsoft loves you, but why? Why did you pick Microsoft? What was the process you went through? Because I know you actually went through, I love your diagram there, but what was the process that you went through?
Yeah, and I think, you know, the key for us, as you can see, was a comprehensive end-to-end solution. We needed to do everything, right from the field service to, you know, the customer intimacy parts, but also, you know, robust ERP system, a proper ERP, proper, you know, inventory and supply chain. And we did. We went through a full due diligence. We looked at all of the various products. You know, we boiled it down to Microsoft, and I think, you know, the comprehensive platform, which, I mean, frankly, even at this conference, I can see how AX7 is coming even closer to CRM and you know, the elements around that. The fact that it was low risk and future-proof. You know, the great customer feedback and the stories that we saw and the skills, and I think the reporting, but I think most importantly the delivery commitment, our ability to get this done, because what we wanted to get this done in a timeline that other people would laugh at. When we would talk about trying to do things in weeks and months, you know, other people would talk about doing it in years, and that was the key for us, was picking a platform that we knew that we could, you know, roll out quickly, that we could use great technology, you know, like the Field 1 to really help us improve and increase our productivity in the whole field service area, which is it's a game-changing product here that Microsoft have embedded within their Dynamics platform. So that makes a big difference for us.
Bing enabled maps, by the way.
Yeah,
I just had to put that plug.
Yeah, and that's even something like that, something like field service, the fact that Microsoft can own the mapping technology combined with the field service and the planning technology opens up all sorts of opportunities. You know, we carry on our vehicles chemicals like kerosene and thinners, which, you know, you can't drive them under tunnels, you can't necessarily take them in certain places. When you start to combine intelligent mapping with kind of route planning and things like that, and what you can potentially do, there's a lot of ways there that, again, we can increase our productivity. The thing for us was killing the paper, was getting rid of the paper, and we are a company that is overwhelmed with paper. We have 100 branches across Europe, and if you see our branches, they are stacked from the floor to the ceiling with paper. You know, we have archive rooms in many of those branches, and just to actually, you know, put in a trial machine and actually then install the trial machine, take the trial machine out, and then maybe put in the machine and finalize a quote required us to do 29 pieces of paper, which we've effectively eradicated through our solution design. You know, everything is completely automated right from the very initiation of the lead through to the quoting, automatic quotes, sign the quote, it creates the contract, it rolls it into Dynamics CRM, into Dynamics AX, sets up the projects in Microsoft AX, and gets the whole thing kind of working automated for us. And that again was the key for us, was to come up with something that killed the paper. The other thing is we needed a supporting infrastructure, so, you know, our own kind of private Azure cloud was obviously the obvious choice for us. You know, in addition to a kind of fairly robust network, we were again, an organization that was a little bit in the dark ages. Most of our branches, you know, have got a 1 meg sort of ADSL line, and we've obviously had to change all of that to cope with this technology. And, you know, it's a big business process and organizational change for us. You know, even inventory management, we've recently, just in the UK, you know, had to educate some people who really never used a system before in how they actually, you know, manage things like inventory, and why it's important that we actually have to have good inventory control and good supply chain controls. The scheduling and those things are a complete kind of game changer, and, you know, the whole kind of costing methods, and us trying to really, you know, work out profitability, you know, and how we can, you know, what things we can do to drive that, and everything right through to the deployment of the technology, the tablets that go out to the service engineers. It's a big organizational change for us.
Okay, wonderful. I did have a question, if you don't mind. I'll go back a slide. Oop, going the wrong way. So you talked about your private cloud.
Sure.
Is there thoughts in the future, maybe thinking about public cloud?
Yeah, I think for us it was a question of right now, as we were going with AX 2012 and with CRM, you know, we could have kind of balanced one in the cloud, one not in the cloud. And I think our view was to put it all on Azure private for now. Yeah. And then actually I think as the whole kind of AX platform matures, you know, and we go online with that, is the reality for us. Our view is to keep it as simple as possible and to kind of move it into a kind of hybrid cloud. Okay, wonderful. So then that essentially leads itself to the next question. Yeah. What's the future hold for you? You know, Colin talked about industrial Internet of Things. We got cloud technologies out there. Yep. How I'm sure our audience would love to hear from you. Yeah. What's your vision for the future, and how you're... And I think that's what we're trying to do as a company, is we're really trying to reinvent ourselves and to jump, frankly, leap sort of 20 years in our thinking. If you think about what we deliver, we deliver a machine to people, and we service it. And we service it today very much on a scheduled basis. So we'll come into you, you know, and we do a great job of this. We're very good with our customers. We're very good at honoring our service schedules. If they've got a problem, we'll come and fix it. But the whole principle is based upon scheduled service. Put the machine in, come in every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, based on your usage. If you imagine with, you know, 110,000 of those machines and all of our guys driving around, the whole IoT for us is a game-changing concept. You know, to be able to just change and service the machine when the chemicals are dirty, you know, or when they're not dirty, you know, when it's based on usage and those kind of things. And our machines are getting much bigger now, actually. You know, we make machines now, the one on the left-hand side, you know, you crane in an entire car engine or vehicle engine to clean them. And we're just in the process now of fitting those first machines with kind of IoT devices. And a key for us now over the next, you know, 3 to 6 months is piloting the whole kind of Azure IoT platform linked into the whole Field 1. So we have the whole concept of the machines are, sending us both usage data, breakdown data, quality of chemicals, and the quality of chemicals is the key for us. A customer nor ourselves want to take away a chemical when it hasn't been used enough, because frankly, if the chemical's not dirty enough, it's a big impact on the environment to recycle it. Equally, I mean, if it's dirty, it loses its cleaning capabilities. So for us to be able to build the whole IoT concept around that changes our model, changes us, to actually service as required versus, on a scheduled basis. And this for us, gives us the next 5 to 7 years as a very different company in a very innovative space. And that's what we're really trying to do here, with all of this overall platform. So hopefully this will be where we'll be at in the next few years. I'm inspired by some of the other companies, many high-tech companies, and frankly, we're not a high-tech company, but I think a company like ours can use some of that thinking from the very advanced organizations and use it to change our business model for the future.
Potentially some hands-free technology, for example, so your service people.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, wonderful. So what I'd like to do is have you stick around, because I'm sure the audience is going to have questions. But first, because we talked about IoT and we have the queen of IoT in our organization here, she's actually going to talk about what we're doing with Dynamics AX and IoT. Dave, thank you so much again.
So for this, I'm going to have to move behind the scenes because I have to be in demo mode. So one of the things that we love in R&D, obviously, is toying around with the tools that we have in our Microsoft toolbox. And lately, we have been together with selected customers looking at what kind of base scenarios do you have in your day-to-day operations that could benefit from a little IoT dust on it. We don't expect everyone, hopefully in the near future, to just be system integrators anymore. It should be more like data scientists, because going in and analyzing all that kind of data is really where you need to be at. All the nitty-gritty parts on how to get the data in and how to present it is something that we are trying to make easier. And what I'm going to show you now, it's not something that's going to be released with AX7 as such. This is a little playground for us at the moment, but it is to spark off some ideas and hopefully ignite some thoughts where you can see in your business where you could benefit from this. The offset in this scenario is on the shop floor. And I think everyone who's a manufacturer can relate to the fact that you have tons of machines out there that are fitted with God knows how many sensors. And all these sensors provide data, and mine's a bit slow right now because I'm starting it up. And perfect. I've been idle too long. So that's what happened when you're on a dev box. Let me just start it up again. Come on.
I tried to keep moving it while I was there.
Yeah, I know, but it times out eventually when you're in these presentation modes, so let me just see. It will come up. There we go. You've probably also seen AX7 now during the days. And this is our production shop floor workspace. And in here, you see some lines going. Obviously, that's not in the workspace when you've seen it. This is something we've put in. And this is just to illustrate that this is kind of data coming from outside, from sensors on some of your machines, perhaps. And let me just see what happens in this workspace. If we, for instance, hit a spike, like this, where our sensor tells us something is going completely wrong at the moment, we'll be notified, and immediately we'd be able to go in from a production floor perspective to see what kind of jobs are impacted now. Where do I need to take some actions? Now I'm just going to show you a little back up here. This is a little still limb of the actual same form. But this is to illustrate where our data comes from now. And this is simply where we went in. We took some sensors, very simple sensors, and we enabled them via Bluetooth wireless. We picked up the data, We pushed it all the way to Azure. We put out some events that we wanted to listen for. In this case, it was very simple. It's with thresholds. So we were in a certain threshold that we wanted to monitor. Whenever Stream Analytics met that threshold, it gave us an event back. AX was listening to that one, and it pushed it back to us. So this should really be like where you have all the data residing outside. We don't want that data into AX, by no means. We have enough data in AX. But we want to give you more insights into what decisions you need to take now. And obviously, we can go even further with this story because that sensor, that peak, should never have happened. You should have some kind of asset management system that should have caught that already way in front of it and have done some predictive maintenance on it. But just for the purpose of this demo, I just wanted to illustrate it to you. It could be any kind of other scenario. We could be in sales, we could be in forecasting, whatever, but the purpose is that you're taking outside data and you're making more informed decisions on what your next Dynamics AX operational action is going to be. If we move back, some very basic Power BI graphs underneath, obviously all powered by AX data, telling me which customer is most heavily impacted by these jobs that are now on a standstill, what is the work in progress right now that has been stopped by this machine, and then I have the ability to go in and look at what would the system suggest to me. So this is a kind of us toying around with simulating alternatives. You have, in this case, 5 parameter views that you use, and each one, or actually all of them, have the same kind of parameters we base our judgment on. In the ideal world, the system will go out and you can see a little star and it will indicate to you, you know what, based on all the data I retrieved, and I hope that we'll try to make the bars as less as possible, this is the optimal choice for you. This is how the rerouting should be. And you can go ahead, you can accept that, and the system will reroute for that. Now again, Power BI comes in with additional data points if needed, and obviously it's up to you to figure out what you would need. But you'll find that every time you do your simulation, new data is pulled in and gives you the insights. Going back to a very quick view on where data comes from. We have one parameter here, and that's the predicted scrap. Now, predicted scrap is something that is calculated not by AX, but in this case, we did a model, a machine learning model behind, where we went in and analyzed which machine, which jobs, which products run with how much speed through and how many scraps are actually produced out of that. So we have a model that is trained to look for these anomalies, and that we can take in and present as part of the insights to figure out what do you want to go for. Less scrap, higher cost, whatever, but these are parameters to give the idea of what should your choice be. In Nirvana, the system would obviously go in and do the choice for you, but we're not there yet. So in this case, we have the ability to look down here in the bottom part of the section where the jobs are shown, and we can even go in and overrule that. It will apply only to the selected jobs, but we can also have like the impacted other jobs, because what you do might have a wider range of impact in your system, so you need to know it. As I said, this is something that we are toying around with at the moment, and we're basing it on customers that we've talked to. And we're actually on the lookout for more customers who feel like they have really IoT-inspiring scenarios. Because right now we have come up with a couple of generic scenarios within manufacturing that could be interesting from our part on pursuing. Because at the end of the day, we want to make it more easy for you to detect the sensors that you have on your resources, to pull in the data, to get it up in Azure, and then we'll read from it. It shouldn't be like overly complicated in these years now, because we got all the technology bits. We're just trying to fit them together so that you don't have to do too much work in that area. So that was a little taste of what we're toying with, and if anyone's interested, give a shout out afterwards. Be happy to take a talk on it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mybrit. So I think we just have a couple slides. Colin, if you want to come out, and we'll wrap it up, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. We wanted to make sure we have enough time here. I'm sure you have lots of questions for the esteemed panel here. So.
Okay, so kind of wanted to wrap up, and actually Dave did a better job with his slide than this slide, right? But really what we wanted to get you thinking about is, as we work through IoT projects, or I think more generically digital transformation projects, we're kind of seeing these 4 key areas that almost always come into play as they're looking at that next generation of manufacturing solution. Some form of device connectivity, right? How do I connect those devices? You may have solved that problem already, so that's fine. You don't have to take everything from Microsoft, but these are kind of 4 of the key areas that we see in every solution, and I think one of the key differentiators, as Dave alluded to, is we do bring all of these different technologies together, and Mybrit kind of showed you how we're starting to try and make it easier for you by building these technologies into AX and CRM, because we can kind of control those end business solutions, so we can at least do that for our own solutions. But there's this device connectivity that you need to be able to deal with. There's kind of that Power BI, the kind of embedded insights that you really want to have, and particularly on operations, where I think very often they're inundated with data, but they're not getting real insight. So there's a lot of things we've even done in AX7, hopefully you've seen, in terms of embedding that insight as you go through the process, so everyone has access to what they need, not just data analysts. Then we have kind of what, again, you showed a little bit of machine learning, but the key scenarios, we're already delivering solutions out of the box for kind of remote monitoring and predictive maintenance, but the reality is there's a whole set of data scientists that we've had for a long time at Microsoft, and we're starting to deliver more and more of those scenarios for you to use in your business. JJ Foods was another example, and you'll continue to see us deliver those kind of advanced analytics. And then the last one I'll talk about, but certainly not least, right? We care passionately about taking all of that, what use is all of that data, doing the predictive analytics, if ultimately it's not going to change the way you do business. So ultimately we've got to embed that in and give you the ability to rapidly change your business processes, and we've got to do it in an intuitive way, right? So it's got to be easy to use. I think I've said skills gap in manufacturing, I think 3 or 4 times already. It comes up in almost every conversation I have with a manufacturer that, hey, this stuff has got to be easy, intuitive to use. Give us as much as you can in terms of what's the best next action, because maybe that operator is not going to have 50 years of experience in manufacturing, and he can just listen to the pump and tell you that it's going to fail, right? So we're doing as much of that as we can. And
Colin,
yeah.
you did talk about skills gap in manufacturing, but I think it's not just the blue collar. It's also how Dynamics is also helping the white collar as well with already the task recorder, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the knowledge base as well.
I'm assuming that many of you have been to other AX and CRM sessions, so you'll have seen some of the things we're doing, for example, in CRM, where we're able to look at the service ticket history, look for patterns, and so we're applying machine learning to really help a customer service agent or even a field service technician with, here's a potential resolution to that problem. That's one area, for example. We're also using it for sales opportunity analysis, and we've in fact used this inside Microsoft, right? Yeah. Where we actually look at what converts a deal, and is that, you put a particular kind of person on a deal, or have they been to our executive briefing center, then they're more likely to sign up a deal. So we're able to do that kind of opportunity analysis as well, again, using machine learning. So it's not all about skills gap in manufacturing. You're quite right. We're using it with data, and it doesn't have to be IoT data, right? It's data we already have in AX, and most of what you showed was data that's in AX, right? Apart from a bit of sensor data, but a lot is looking at the master schedule and the key resources and doing that rescheduling. So I wanted to give you a perspective on how we think about the market overall. We've talked a lot about connected operations today. Yesterday we did a session on connected marketing, sales, and service, and really that wonderful link between the Internet of Things and CRM. It's kind of a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned, because it can connect it into your call center and everything else. Maybe one that I think we touched on a bit with Lotus, right, which was kind of product innovation. So one of the things we're really starting to see people think about is, I can do the sentiment analysis, so I can listen to what they're saying on Facebook, but now I've instrumented all these machines, I can actually not just hear what they may or may not be complaining about or praising, but actually I know how they're really using the product. Because I've got the telemetry and I know that they're running it 3 times the capacity that it should be, and that's probably why they're having the problem. So, excuse me, really starting to see companies think about the next step of connecting engineering with operations and supply chain and with sales, marketing, and service. And then connected vehicles, well, kind of Lotus is one example, but we had, I've got to get their name right, ZF Friedrichshafen talking with us yesterday about connected vehicles, and then, of course, connected devices where we can do everything from vending machines. So we've kind of got a lot we can really help manufacturers with today in that digital transformation. But I wanted to kind of wrap that up, and I think we've still got close to 10 minutes, I think, for questions, and I'm going to ask Dave to come back up, because I'm sure most of the questions will be for you, Dave, right?
So there is a roving microphone, also known as Bill. Bill's coming around with a microphone, so if you could please get your questions and get recorded so anybody else hearing the session later on can hear your question. So if you just want to raise your hand, Bill will come out there and give you the microphone. Any questions? I know it's a little late in the day, but it's got to be 1 or 2 questions out there, I'm sure. Come on, Wolfgang, I know you got a question.
It's related to you, but you said you are interested eventually in customers who want you to play some scenarios with concerning IoT, analytics, and
mainly
AX.
supply chain, yeah, because I'm supply chain. But in general, yes.
You showed this with AX7.
Yeah.
We don't know a lot of customers already working on AX7, but
that doesn't matter.
So what's the criteria for customers you're looking at, you would like to work on to make some showcases on?
So one thing is, obviously, I'm in the supply chain R&D part of AX. That means
answer it from that perspective, and I'll answer it more generally.
Exactly. Okay. So from a supply chain perspective, obviously, we're looking at everything from procurement, sales, warehousing, transportation, and as I showed, production, manufacturing in general. Quality could be anything. We are just looking for any kind of inspiration to what kind of scenarios you have out there that you can see you can benefit from. And it doesn't have to be AX7 specific. It's not like that we're looking for. We're looking just for the baseline scenario. And that scenario is implementation free. And that was implementation I showed. But anything that goes where you say, this might help reduce my cost, but it might also gain my revenue if I get this kind of insight into it.
And we use Chandru to open the doors, right?
Yeah, there you go. But Colin, I think you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I think just we can't deal with every possible IoT scenario and put that into core products. So obviously what we're looking for are those that have enough commonality, repeatability, so that we can make those, move those into the product roadmap at the appropriate point, right? So that's really what we're looking for. If you've got a scenario you think would be repeatable, somebody else or lots of other manufacturers are going to be interested in, then bring them to us. We've got a list, right? We've got those that we think are pretty obvious, and we've started with the most obvious one, which is kind of remote monitoring and predictive maintenance. And actually, if you go and hit the Azure IoT Suite website, you'll see those solutions, and we announce the availability of predictive maintenance. They're kind of at the collecting the data and applying the machine learning, and we'll do the obvious things and link those into field service and in CRM. And there's only so many touch points. You think about creating service tickets or opportunities or cases, but we want real examples so that we make sure that those integration models are appropriate, right?
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Yeah, there we go.
Hi. Just one question about the functionalities related to machine learning. They will be available in the general availability of IX next year, in the first year?
Well, first of all, there is everything in Cortana Analytics, so it's there in the IoT suite. Well, it's not going to be part of the first batch of AX shipping right now, but let's see when it comes. But right now, you have it as the Azure IoT suite, and you can start using it like we did. We just did a very simple integration to it, or not integration, but we just hooked up and started using it. But out of the box, no, not in the first initial, what you've seen today. So,
Okay,
but it's on the sideline. It's not far away. By all means, it's not far away, and as you can see, we're playing with it as well. So,
Would you look at it as pretty much another data stream? It's just like an input, yeah?
For us, it's just another data source.
Yeah, because in fact, I think Bill has done this before, Colin. There's actually a CRM demo out there where it's basically taking machine data, like from a smart TV, saying, hey, here are all the errors that are showing up out there at so-and-so customer's house or multiple customers' house, and it's just coming directly to CRM, and they're able to route the service call to that. Either it's just a simple software upgrade, or we can send you a service technician to fix it, or you can go over to so-and-so shop, and hey, by the way, there's a better TV for, you could just trade this in right now and buy this new one for, for $10 or whatever, so we're able to do all of this already, and it's just, for us right now, it's almost like a data input, and we're able to take that.
So even though I say it's a data source, you have to remember that machine learning does require modeling, because you have to look at your data, and you have to find your anomalies. You have to figure out what are the typical resolutions for these anomalies, and you have to create a model, you have to train a model. And in order to have a very good model, you need a bit more data than just a few sales orders or whatever. And I think that's the biggest trick there, to find that balance and to figure out what kind of model do you need to end up with to actually get some data that is worthwhile for your business. And, but it can be done by all means, but it does require a bit more data analysis thinking than just plugging in and saying, this is the stream I get my data from, and this is the data source, because there has to be run algorithms in ML to produce some kind of an event back. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I think we're almost on time here, about a minute left. So, again, yeah, one more last question here from.
And then we'll stay here for a few.
Just you, Dave, because as far as I got it, you did implement everything out of Microsoft. What is your key learning so far by doing so, and what would you give as a recipe of how to plug in and together all these technologies from Microsoft? What was the key learning, and how would you recommend to do so?
Yeah, I think this is still working. Look, it's helped us by picking the same product from one company. So the reality has been that it's been so far relatively easy, because we're building a complementary set of products that, even though maybe not all of them talk to each other in the way that we want them to, is that actually finding the skill set, to be able to do that. So far, we're finding to be easy, and frankly, I'm finding the support that I'm able to get from the partner network and Microsoft to be great as well. I mean, the key for us is to have, I got to be honest, the key to change is creating a strong, clear vision about what you want to do, and getting an entire organization to align behind it, recognizing that you're going to be irrelevant if you don't change and transform. And actually, you know, we're a great company, but we've stayed the same for far too long, and we will, you know, not be relevant if we don't change. And I think by creating that kind of compelling vision that we've, you know, I've tried to articulate it there, we've got a long way to go, and you need a lot of energy for this, because this is a multi-year program. But you have to build that kind of vision, and things like the IoT thing there, a complete game changer for our business. We can be a very different company in a few years' time if we embrace that. So it isn't technology for technology's sake. It can be, you know, reduce our resources, improve the customer experience, you know, do everything that an organization wants to do. And so I think, you know, so far, you know, the key is to keep that energy up, because we've got a long way to go. We've got to, you know, we've got to transform the entire business. But we're lucky we have a leadership that kind of agrees to the vision, and we're very focused on doing it. So, you know, I'll probably tell you in a year or two's time a whole bunch of stuff that didn't work, you know, and maybe the whole IoT. But, you know, the reality for now is that it's a transformation that we're right in the middle of. You know, we're still, frankly, more at the beginning than the end. But, you know, for now, what you need is the energy to actually get there, and, you know, and don't get distracted by. Sometimes as well, you look at the new technology, and that almost becomes a distraction, because you think, I'll wait for AX7, or, you know, some of my guys were here yesterday and were like, oh, maybe we should stop and wait. Look, I mean, that's the one thing sometimes, because the technology evolves, you know, and you've got to kind of get your head around that. You pick a point, and then you go as quick as you can, and you drive as much transformation as you can, and then maybe, you know, you catch your breath. So I'll let you know where we are in a year or two's time.
That was a brilliant message, actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to start my next presentation with that. You're going to become irrelevant if you don't change. So that was brilliant. Thank you. Thank you again to our speakers. This was a wonderful session. Please be sure to give us feedback, which is very valuable to us. And we'll stick around for a little bit if anybody has one-on-one questions. Thank you once again.